Good morning. This is Mission Control Houston bringing you live coverage today of the docking of the Progress 74 cargo spacecraft to the Pirs docking compartment on the Russian segment of the International Space Station. Flight controllers here in the International Space Station Flight Control Room have been working with flight controllers half a world away in the Russian Mission Control Center in the town of Korolyov on the outskirts of Moscow to monitor the slow and steady approach of the Progress 74 cargo craft to the International Space Station. The unpiloted resupply cargo vehicle that launched on Friday is wrapping up its 3-day 49-orbit journey to the station with a docking to the Pirs docking compartment just under an hour from now. All of the Progress systems are in good shape, and all of the rendezvous burns and engine firings to tune the Progress's approach have all been executed without an issue, and the Progress is all set, moving into the neighborhood of the International Space Station a short time from now. As Progress moves in close to the station, it'll begin an automated fly-around of the station to precisely align its docking mechanism with the Pirs docking compartment. That docking compartment serves as a docking port for Russian vehicles as well as an airlock for Russian spacewalks out of the International Space Station. And back here in the International Space Station Flight Control Room, the Orbit 1 team of flight controllers are on console for the Progress docking this morning. Teams are being led by Flight Director Zeb Scoville, and to his right is Spacecraft Communicator or Capcom Mark Reagan, talking directly to the crew on board the station this morning. Progress 74 lifted off on Friday right on time at 3:34 a.m. Central Time, which was 2:34 p.m. at the launch site in Baikonur. The Soyuz 2.1A booster, filled with 2.7 tons of cargo, lifted off from Site 31 in Baikonur and performed a series of 3 nominal burns to propel the Progress into orbit, where it began its 3-day 49-orbit journey to the orbital outpost. And Progress is set to arrive and dock to the Pirs docking compartment on the Earth-facing side of the station this morning. Again, all of the various rendezvous maneuvers and engine firings have gone as planned to set the Progress up for its automated docking. So far this morning, the Corps' automated rendezvous system on the Progress and its corresponding hardware on the Russian segment of the station have all been activated and checked out, and everything is in good shape, as well as the Toru system, which is the telerobotically operated rendezvous system that would be used from a control panel using a joystick in the Russian segment in the service module of the station in the unlikely event that an automated rendezvous problem would occur that would prevent the Corps' automated system from guiding the Progress in for docking this morning. It's been a busy time for vehicles coming and going at the International Space Station. Just over a week ago on Friday, November 28th, the unpiloted Progress 73 cargo spacecraft undocked from the Pirs docking compartment, which opened it up for Progress 74 to dock this morning. Progress wasn't the only vehicle en route to the orbital outpost this week. The SpaceX Dragon resupply craft lifted off just 1 day before the Progress on Thursday. So on Friday, when the Progress 74 launched, it was a unique moment in time as 2 resupply vehicles were both en route to the station, with SpaceX arriving with more than 5,700 pounds of cargo yesterday. Dragon was installed on the Earth-facing side of the station's Harmony module Sunday morning at 6:47 a.m. Central Time, 7:47 a.m. Eastern. The view we're getting now from the hatchway. And you can see some members of the crew unloading some of that cargo now. Again, this view now from the hatchway as some of the crew members continue unloading some of that SpaceX cargo. The Progress is carrying 5,571 pounds, or 2.7 tons of cargo to the International Space Station. Within that cargo is 1,433 pounds of propellant, 110 pounds of oxygen, 926 pounds of water, and 3,014 pounds of spare parts and other supplies for the crew on board the International Space Station. There are currently 6 crew members aboard the International Space Station. From left to right is NASA astronaut Andrew Morgan, Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Skvortsov, Expedition 61 Commander Luca Parmitano of the European Space Agency, Roscosmos cosmonaut Oleg Skropochka, and NASA astronauts Jessica Meir and Christina Cook. Once the Progress docks to the Pirs docking compartment about 46 minutes from now, the hooks will close between the 2 docking interfaces, forming a hard mate between the 2 vehicles. There will be about 3 hours worth of leak checks that will be performed by Russian cosmonauts Alexander Skvortsov and Oleg Skropochka on the Pirs docking compartment side of the docking interface between the International Space Station before hatches are opened to enable crew members to begin unloading the cargo on the Progress. Again, flight controllers in the International Space Station Flight Control Room have been working in tandem with flight controllers half a world away in the Russian Mission Control Center in the town of Korolyov on the outskirts of Moscow. They've been monitoring the slow approach of the Progress 74 cargo spacecraft to the International Space Station, which is currently flying 260 statute miles above the Atlantic Ocean. Again, all of the various rendezvous maneuvers and engine firings have gone as planned to set the Progress up for its automated docking just 44 minutes from now. And as the International Space Station flies 259 statute miles above the Atlantic Ocean, cameras on board the International Space Station are giving us our first views, live views, as the Progress will begin here shortly to enter the neighborhood of the International Space Station. As Progress enters the neighborhood of the station for a fly around and for a few minutes of station keeping, the station keeping will take place around the range of about 210 meters between the Progress itself and the International Space Station. And those moments for station keeping will allow the crews in Korolyov to assess the status of the systems on the resupply vehicle before the command is given for final approach for contact and capture this morning.
VHF-2 activation command has been sent. Moscow. Copy. Page 19 is executed as written. Moscow copies.
Ожидайте включения телевидения.
Stand by for TV activation.
Ориентировочно 3200.
3,200 is the approximate range as of 5 minutes past the top of the hour.
Again, these views from a camera on board the International Space Station as it flies 257 statute miles above the Atlantic Ocean. At the moment, the Progress is executing a series of pre-programmed engine firings called impulse burns. Those burns are small thruster firings from the engine that will enable the Progress to more precisely fine-tune its course to the International Space Station. Here in Mission Control Houston, Flight Director Zeb Scoville just finished discussing system status with his Russian shift counterpart at the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Moscow. Everything is in good shape and in readiness. All positions are a go for docking. Now about 18 minutes from the start of the fly-around by the Progress around 4:19 a.m. Central Time, 5:19 a.m. Eastern. Again, this will be a fly-around starting at a range of about 400 meters between the Progress itself and the International Space Station, resulting in a station-keeping procedure. Basically, the Progress putting the brakes on for a couple of minutes for system checks before the command is given to initiate the final approach for docking. Once we begin getting video from the Progress vehicle itself, you'll get to see the distance separating the Progress vehicle from its destination of the International Space Station. And right under that number, you'll be able to see the rate of closure. And at the time of docking, that rate of closure number will be reduced to just 1/10 of a meter per second. Then at the point of contact and capture, the relative motion between the vehicles will have to dampen out, which typically takes a minute or so. Then the forward docking probe will be retracted on the Progress to pull it forward for a hard mate with the docking surface at the docking port of the Pirs docking compartment. Again, once the Progress docks to the Pirs docking compartment about 33 minutes from now, the hooks will close between the two docking interfaces, forming a hard mate between the two vehicles. There will then be about 3 hours worth of leak checks that will be performed by Russian cosmonauts Alexander Skvortsov and Oleg Skropochka on the Pirs docking compartment side of the docking interface between the International Space Station before hatches are opened to enable the crew members to begin unloading the cargo on the Progress.
Moscow Station 1. I'm getting a visual.
Принято. Можно выполнить тестировку маски, если маска не установлена ранее, установить и совместить с электронным крестом на ВКО.
You are go to adjust the overlays and make sure that the crosshairs are aligned on the Tivico. Copy and work.
Принято. Следующее действие.
Done. Now the next step is Toro activation on MCCM Go. Copy. I'm going to get ready to execute that command.
Принято. После
Copy.
коррекции.
Stand by.
And this view from the Progress vehicle itself, you can see those two numbers at the lower left-hand section that I was talking about a little earlier.
Visual on the screen now. Let's go.
Вас понял.
Copy.
3.031 kilometers on the left-hand side, and that's the distance separating the Progress from its destination at the International Space Station. And the number right under it shows the rate of closure, and Progress is closing in at a rate of 8.02 meters per second. Again, at the time of docking, that rate of closure number will be reduced to just 1/10 of a meter per second.
Station Moscow, space to ground for all. You are go to activate MPEG-2 recording. Copy that. It's recording.
Да, спасибо.
Copy, thank you.
Есть начало третьей коррекции. Разворот перед третьим импульсом.
Third burn is underway. We can see that. Copy that.
And we're getting our first view now of Progress right there in the center of your screen. That looks like a little black dot. Again, these views coming from a camera on board the International Space Station. Progress and the International Space Station flying over Africa right now. Now just under 10 minutes from the start of the fly around by the Progress, as the International Space Station and Progress fly 256 statute miles above Africa.
I'm getting a station visual. Copy that, and you are go to execute the Toro activation command.
And we have a view of the International Space Station from this camera on board the Progress vehicle right there in the center of your screen.
Выдана команда на включение Тору.
Toro activation command is executed.
Вас понял. Можно переходить к шагу 4.2, тест Тору СМ и ТГК без воздействия на ДПО ТГК.
Copy. You are go to press with step 4.2 SM and progress Toro test without progress thrusters involvement. Copy and work.
Again, the Toru is the telerobotically operated rendezvous system that would be used from a control panel using a joystick in the Russian segment in the service module of the station. In the unlikely event that an automated rendezvous problem would occur, that would prevent the Corps' automated system from guiding the Progress in for docking. Another view of Progress right there toward the center of your screen. Again, it's that little black dot that you can see right now.
All the keys are released, and I'm ready to perform the tour test. Copy, and please keep us in the loop with your commentary. Copy that. PPS initial is on. PPS initial is being activated. Copy. I'm ready for the row hand controller test. You are go. In work. Upwards. All the LEDs are illuminated, releasing. Downwards, all the LEDs are on, releasing, and the LEDs are off. To the left, LEDs are illuminated, releasing, and the LEDs are off. To the right, the LEDs are on, releasing, and they're off. Roll to the right, all four are on. To the left, everything is nominal as well. The row hand controller test is complete. That completes the attitude test, hand controller test. I'm putting the emotional hand controller test into work. Upwards, on and releasing and off. Downwards, on, releasing, off. To the left, on, releasing, off. Right, on, releasing, pushing in, on and off. Releasing, on and off. The emotional hand controller test is complete. Copy that. PO, BPS initial, and BPS initial commands are being executed. Both are on. Moscow copies. You are go to move on to step 4.3 station. Copy. Step 4.3 in work. BPS initial is being activated. Operational mode on. AGC is on. I'm getting a really nice visual of the station now. Moscow copies. Adjusting so that I can get a nice, stable lighting situation. Copy.
Just under 800 meters now separating the Progress from the International Space Station. Again, you can see the International Space Station on the upper right-hand corner of your screen right now.
I'm ready to move on to page 22, Moscow. Copy that. Are you getting video as well, Moscow? Moscow station. Can you confirm that you're happy with the video? Yeah, we're getting it. We're happy with it. Copy.
Now just under 3 minutes from the start of the fly around. The Progress now just 550 meters away from the International Space Station.
Copy that.
It's
Alexander, this is Vladimir Soloviev. How do you read me? I have you loud and clear, sir. How are you?
Все хорошо, просто у меня почта.
So far, so good. I just wanted to do a quick comm check because I'm using a new panel right here. Copy that. Everything is nice and stable, sir.
Progress now just under 500 meters away from the station. The International Space Station and Progress now flying 259 statute miles above Ukraine. We're in a handover right now between satellites on the tracking and data relay satellite system, but we should be getting those communications and picture back soon. Again, we're standing by for the start of the fly around, now just at 40 seconds from now. And confirmation the fly around is now underway. You can see the International Space Station now in view as the Progress continues down the final stretch of its journey to the International Space Station for a docking just under 20 minutes from now. The fly around of the station will last for just a few minutes, resulting in station keeping for a brief period of time to enable the Russian flight control team to assess the vehicle's systems before they reinitiate the system's automated approach for contact and capture.
Сан Саныч, можно подготовить радиограмму лист 3.
Alexander, get page 3 of the radiogram ready.
Не понял.
Can you repeat, please?
А можно подготовить радиограмму лист 3 по УЗ, возможно, досрочная выдача разрешения причаливания с ПБПС.
We may give you a early go for a final approach, so please get page 3 of the radiogram ready and in front of you. Copy and concur, and page 3 is in front of me.
Принято.
Copy.
And as you just heard, it sounds like we're running a little bit ahead of schedule. That fly-around start came just 1 minute early. Progress now under 300 meters from the International Space Station.
I'm getting a visual through window number 5. Moscow copies.
Again, Progress is in the final stretch to deliver 5,571 pounds or 2.7 tons of cargo to the International Space Station. Now 230 meters away from the station, currently closing at a rate of 0.27 meters per second. I can't hear. Progress now in a roll to align its solar arrays for final approach.
Александрович, можно выдавать команду на причаливание?
Alexander, you're a go to send the command for final approach. Display 44 is confirmed. Operational mode confirmed. Copy.
And final approach has now been initiated. That final approach initiation coming about 3 minutes early.
Zero 087 is the range. 186 is the rate.
This view now from the Progress vehicle. Again, you can see in the lower left-hand corner the distance. Now 173 meters from the station.
You confirm that the video is stable. Moscow. Oh, we've lost the video now. Yep, video is back.
In the middle of the crosshairs on the screen, that center point, you'll see as Progress continues to move in closer to the station, that alignment of the center point with the docking target that's just underneath the docking port on the Pirs docking compartment. That's all coordinated by the core's automated docking system that essentially sends signals back and forth to a corresponding antenna on the Russian segment of the International Space Station to update navigational information for the Progress's computers. Now under 130 meters separating Progress from the station.
170, 120 метров, 07 над выражением.
120 is the range and 07 is the rate. Copy.
Решить практически в центре.
The target is at the center. Copy.
Through an interpreter, you'll continue to hear the conversation between the Russian flight controllers in Korolyov, between Alexander Skvortsov, aboard the International Space Station, as he and Oleg Skropochka watch the final approach of the Progress on a monitor in the Zvezda module.
Range 100, rate decimal 54. The target is a half a square away at 45-degree angle to the left. So pointed at 11 o'clock on the dial. You should be getting video. 87 meters is the range. Copy, we are getting the video.
A great view of Progress now flying over Mongolia, only 79 meters away from the International Space Station.
На дальности 30 метров необходимо будет выдать БПС исходную работу вот разрешен, работу нет.
BPS initial and abort enabled are the two commands you'll need to issue at the range of 30 meters. Copy.
Again, Progress now flying over Mongolia through an orbital nighttime, about 62 meters from the International Space Station.
60 meters, 026 is the rate. Everything's nominal. Copy.
Есть команда на готовность ССП.
SSOP ready command has been executed. Copy.
Less than 50 meters now from the International Space Station.
At the center. We're about a square and a half.
The Progress docking mechanism has been powered up.
Copy that.
Less than 40 meters now until docking. Now approaching 30 meters away.
Расстояние 30 метров. Готов.
Range is 30 meters. Ready to
Исходная работа.
proceed with BPS initial command. You are going to send that command to switch to BPS initial. Copy and work.
Отличная работа, вот разрешен.
Disable the operation mode. Copy.
Now approaching 20 meters.
До входа в тень около 2 минут.
About 2 minutes until you enter eclipse.
Принял.
Copy.
Есть переход на базу АР. Есть
We switch to Baza AR,
Принято.
and I just received a message that the antenna has been retracted. Copy.
Progress now 20 meters away from the International Space Station.
метров кресты собраны.
15-meter range. Crosshairs are aligned.
Принято.
Approaching 10 meters.
Copy.
Ну вот это вот небольшое расхождение.
A little bit of a discrepancy there, but you are seeing it, correct? Between the,
Кресты собраны.
but the crosshairs are aligned.
Принято.
It's just that the target is a little bit offset. Copy.
Ten meters. Standing by for contact and capture.
Наблюдаю все в норме.
Everything's nominal.
Принято.
Copy. Alexander.
Contact confirmed and capture confirmed.
And capture confirmed.
At 4:35 a.m. Central Time, 5:35 a.m. Eastern Time, as the International Space Station and Progress 74 were flying 261 statute miles over the Yellow Sea east of Shanghai. And the docking probe is being retracted.
Сан Саныч, ожидайте стягивания.
Alexander,
После стягивания мы скажем.
please expect for the probe retraction to be completed before you step into closeout operations. Copy that. We'll stand by for your go when the probe is fully retracted, and then we'll perform closeout ops. The procedure is ready.
Наблюдаем индикаторный режим на судоре.
And this is Alexander. I can confirm that free drift is eliminated on my display. Copy.
And the retraction of the docking probe has been confirmed. Just to recap, the Progress 74 cargo craft carrying 2.7 tons of cargo for the Expedition 61 crew officially docked to the Pirs docking compartment at 4:35 a.m. Central Time, 5:35 a.m. Eastern Time. Docking occurred as the International Space Station and Progress were flying 261 statute miles above the Yellow Sea to complete a flawless 3-day 49-orbit journey, which began at liftoff on Friday from the launch pad at the Baikonur Cosmodrome at 3:34 a.m. Central Time, 4:34 a.m. Eastern Time. Now standing by for the hooks to close between the Pirs docking compartment and the Progress 74 resupply vehicle, we have confirmation that those hooks have begun driving. We now have confirmation that the Progress hooks are closed, and we have a hard mate between the Pirs docking compartment and the Progress 74 resupply craft. And that completes the Progress 74's flawless launch to docking that began with its liftoff from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan on Friday at 3:34 a.m. Central Time, which was 2:34 p.m. in Baikonur. The Progress 74 lifted off atop a Soyuz 2.1A booster, which performed a series of 3 nominal burns to propel the Progress into its preliminary orbit, where it began a 3-day 49 orbit journey to the International Space Station. And just a few minutes ago, the Progress 74 docked to the Pirs docking compartment on the Russian segment of the International Space Station at 4:35 a.m. Central Time, 5:35 a.m. Eastern Time, as the Progress and the International Space Station were flying 261 statute miles above the Yellow Sea. The arrival of the Progress this morning comes only one day after the arrival of the SpaceX Dragon resupply spacecraft. Delivering more than 5,700 pounds of research, crew supplies, and hardware, Dragon was installed on the Earth-facing side of the station's Harmony module yesterday, Sunday morning, at 6:47 a.m. Central Time, 7:47 a.m. Eastern Time. With the Progress 74 hooks now closed, the Russian cosmonauts in the Russian segment of the station, Alexander Skvortsov and Oleg Skropochka, will begin a series of leak checks to ensure there is a tight seal between the docking interface between the Progress and the Pirs docking compartment, which will set the stage for the opening of the hatch and the start of the unloading of some of the time-sensitive cargo within that 2.7 tons brought up by the Progress later today. With the hooks closed and Progress 74 officially docked to the International Space Station, that'll wrap up our coverage this morning. This is Mission Control Houston.